Hey Super Cruisers, it's Kevin and Frank from Cruising with Wheels.
And welcome to another exciting Q&A.
So like we said, this is Q&A, and it's episode number 43, believe it or not.
That's right.
And we want to ask you, implore you, make you click that subscribe button if you haven't already done so, and that little bell, don't be a ding-a-ling.
That's right.
And you'll get regular notifications of when our videos go live.
So, where are we going to get started?
Well, the first question is going to come from Casey. And Casey writes, is it better to take advantage of a cruise line's transportation offer, like a bus pickup or air travel, or just to arrange it on your own?
Well, like everything in life, there are pros and cons. A lot of people think that it's a big deal to include all of this in their package, and it is one less thing for them to worry about. Mm-hmm. However, the con to that is something that we always look at, which is you have to be on their time frame,
right,
and not your own.
Right.
So you have to be available when that bus is ready to pick you up or that flight is ready to take off. And you might have a whole different take on your travel plans.
And it also depends on whether or not you are flying in the same day, because if you're flying in the day before, transportation through the cruise line will not be available.
Nope.
So our next question comes from Belinda.
That's
and
right.
What does Belinda say?
Well, Belinda is asking, with all the complimentary restaurants on board, why would you pay to eat at a specialty restaurant? Is the food really that much better?
Well, my answer would be yes, it is. It does depend. I mean, everybody's palates and tastes are different. That's why very often we will say, actually all the time we say, do not read reviews, do not listen when people say, oh my God, that was the most god-awful thing I ever had, because, it is going to be different from cruise to cruise and from ship to ship with inconsistency, right?
Right. But I looked up the word specialty.
Well, yes.
And there's three words associated with specialty. That's skill, devotion, and expertise in an area.
Right.
So when you're talking about a specialty restaurant, let's say Cagney Steakhouse, a Moderno Brazilian restaurant, a Churrascaria, that's all they do. Mm-hmm. That is their specialty. So it's not like the main dining room where the menu changes and it's chicken and then they're working on the fish and they're working on the meat. These specialty restaurants are experts in what they do. And I believe that the cuts of meat will be better. The selection of seafood will be better. And a lot of the specialty restaurants, don't they get a lot of their recipes from famous chefs?
Well, some of them do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of expertise involved.
Our next question comes from Brian, and Brian writes, have they totally eliminated smoking from all cruise ships? My wife would be thrilled. I would be very annoyed. Well, the simple answer to that question would be no. They have not.
Yeah, there's still designated smoking areas on ships. Maybe not where you want them to be. Mm-hmm. Maybe a little secluded, but yeah.
Excuse me.
They're still there.
Generally, they would be in your daily. It will designate where they are. You can also, there's usually an information channel on the television screen. Right. And there will be designated smoking areas within the casino, like Frank said.
Right,
Did you say that?
So, well, yeah, I think that's a bonus, Brian, for your wife, because a lot of the bigger ships are dividing the casino. I think that was the biggest thing for me.
On the Bliss and the Encore?
Yeah, on the smaller ships, the smoke was so overwhelming and it's like I could only spend a little time and I just could not breathe. But on these larger ships, they're doing smoking casino area.
That are fully enclosed
fully
with
enclosed.
ventilation.
Right, and a non-smoking casino. So your wife would like that, and maybe a little separate time apart gambling might be helpful.
As a side note, I want to say to all of our NCL cruisers out there, you know that on most of the ships they have a cigar lounge.
Right.
It's fully enclosed. It is not, I repeat, not for cigarette smokers or for cannabis smokers.
Vapors.
It is specifically for cigar
Right.
smokers.
That is not your designated smoking area.
So check your daily.
Yes.
Listen to the TV. And most times they will designate outdoor, port side, someplace
Right.
in the aft because they want it to be. It has to do, and please follow those instructions because it has to do with the pattern of the wind as the boat is sailing. So if an ash goes over or whatever, the vessel doesn't start on fire.
Right, and you know that fire is the number one fear of a cruise ship.
Our next question comes from Regina. And what does Regina write?
Well, Regina is saying, what happens if I get injured on board the ship while I'm participating in an activity like doing the flow rider or the ropes course or the go-karts?
Well, first of all, that would suck.
It would be bad.
It would be very bad. And pretty much you're on your own.
Right. Travel insurance.
And that's in regards to the medical expenses. But I also think in some instances you're on your own, depending on the competency of the crew, right?
Oh yeah,
Because
we've been in places
we've been
where
in situations where we
we know more than they do.
So we always suggest you get travel insurance. If you're going to be doing an activity that is more strenuous, where you would be afraid that you might get hurt, do it in a buddy system so that if you get hurt, your buddy can take you or find somebody to take you to the hospital on board.
Right, because the ships do have a medical center.
Right.
And doctors and nurses.
So,
But again, if you think that the cruise line is going to pay your medical expenses
It ain't
because
happening.
you were doing a ropes course and you slipped and fell and you say, oh, I hurt my back, and now the cruise line is responsible, you realize that you're going to have to prove negligence on the part of the cruise line, and that is almost near impossible.
and you realize that you have to follow the rules, regulations, and laws of the ship where it is registered. So,
And what about the fine print?
So normally it's
Cruise
it's
contract.
in the Bahamas. So you would have to, if you were going to sue them for negligence, go to the Bahamas, file the case,
Right.
and everything would be handled there. And they might not have negligence laws. And like you said, when you sign up to go on a cruise, there is a cruise contract, and in all the fine print it says that you're limited to liability, blah 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 blah. So there's only a certain amount that you're going to get
Right.
if you would win, right?
Yeah. If.
So our next question comes from Tawny. Tawny?
Tawny.
Tawny. Do cruise lines allow you to bring your pet on board for your cruise? I never go anywhere without my dog.
Well, if I had my
Okay.
way, my puppies would be with us, but
So
sadly,
based on the way she worded this question,
Yeah.
I would say no.
right, because it just says I never go anywhere without my dog. She doesn't say,
And she
again,
says pet.
Right. So again, the policies for pet travel are not consistent across cruise lines. But the question always is your dog a pet or a service animal or an emotional support animal? There are three different categories.
Aminal.
Yeah,
That's how I
know.
used to say it.
Because some cruise lines are owned and operated by, as you say, international companies.
Almost all.
Yeah, and there may be different definitions as to what is considered a service animal or a support animal.
Right.
For most cruise lines across the world, service animals are allowed for persons with disabilities, and the acceptance of emotional support animals, on the other hand, may vary depending on the cruise line. Now, here's an example. If you go to the Carnival website and you look it up, an example is Carnival Cruise Line only permits service dogs, working dogs, trained dogs on board their ships. Therapy dogs or working dogs that are not trained properly
Well,
are
therapy
not
dogs
permitted.
are companion dogs, you would
So-
say, not working.
So, yeah.
It's a working dog, like you said,
Yeah.
it was a trained
Yeah.
dog. And even though a therapy dog or a support emotional support dog may be trained and certified, that does not mean they're still going to be allowed.
Right.
It has to be a dog that would say you're blind,
Right.
and you need this dog to get around, or you're missing limbs, and you need this dog to open a door.
Right.
They
professionally trained and
performing
certified.
certain tasks.
Right.
The task cannot be to comfort you.
Right. In other words, I never travel without my peacock. I never travel without my boa constrictor. He calms me. Again, the bottom line to everything is check with your cruise line that you are traveling with.
As a side note, I read a really interesting article about support animals and airlines. And a lot
I
of
was
the
just gonna bring
airlines
that up.
have gone to only dogs,
Right.
or a cats, I think. Dogs or cats. It has to be a domestic
they have
animal.
Really eliminated the peacocks, boas,
Snakes,
raccoons,
yeah.
all these, whatever other animals are not allowed on the airlines.
Chances are you'll have to buy a secondary seat.
Right.
So that will eliminate it all in total for most people. Now, our next question comes from Angela. And Angela writes, my husband and I are a very religious couple and worship regularly every Sunday. Will there be religious services on Sundays on board while we are cruising?
Well, they have services on board. A lot of the ships will have a non-denominational service.
It depends. That's why I would say it would depend on how devout you are into that specific religion, because certain religions, like Orthodox Jewish, they're not going to go to a non-denominational.
Exactly.
Right?
Now,
and we don't know your religion.
Right.
So we can't answer
generally
that specific.
speaking, the cruise lines just have one non-denominational service for let's say the 1 week sailing period. On larger, bigger ships,
Bigger vessels,
they may have clergy on board. And a lot of times it's during the religious holidays of sailings, like Easter and Christmas, where they will have someone. But you'll want to check.
Well, and also there is Seder. So on some of the larger vessels we've been on, I've noticed that in the daily that they have a Seder supper.
Right.
And they have all the accompanying religious services surrounding that.
And a lot of the cruise lines do, when they don't have regular clergy on board, that if clergy is sailing, they can offer their services to the cruise line, to the ship, but it has to be approved. They can't just say, well, I'm Reverend so-and-so and I'm going to use the... You have to be approved by the cruise line and the ship if you want to avail your services for that sailing. Now, the last question comes from my sister, Janine. Surprise! No. My sister Janine says, today is November 11th. Happy 10-year wedding anniversary. Tell everybody how you two met.
Oh, didn't we go through this in one video already?
I don't know.
I think we did. But we will humor her. So go ahead.
It is our anniversary today.
How did we meet?
We met online.
And when was that?
It was back in...
This is a quiz.
It was back 2006, online, in a local gay Rochester chat room.
So that would be how many years?
15 years ago. Yeah, and so I remember we met online. I think it was a Monday, and so we were chatting and talking and chatting and talking probably during the week, and we scheduled our first date on Saturday, November 11th, and I took you to Panzari's Italian restaurant, which is right where I lived in Cornhill, in the Cornhill
Now
neighborhood.
closed. We're very upset about it.
Yeah, so, yeah. And so that's, I can see
Excuse
how
me.
broken you are over it.
Yeah. The frog jumped right in my throat.
Why? Did it want to stop you from saying something?
No.
So that's what, 2006. So we were dating, and then that year,
Late in the year, in 2006, you went on a cruise.
I zippity-dooed off with my friends to the Caribbean
Zippity-doo-dah-day.
because we had already bought and paid for that cruise. Bought and paid
But I
for.
love boughten.
No, it's bought and, not bought.
In. I bought.
So I was like, sorry, bought and paid for, gotta go. Pray for me, and left you behind. But in the next year, in 2007,
early 2000.
Yeah.
Because it was like they were very close.
yeah, you
close
had
together.
again, you had already planned
Right.
your trip to Italy
I went to
with
Italy,
your friends.
and that was fun.
So you were gone for 2 weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks
Yeah,
there.
2 weeks in Italy.
We dated for a while. A little while after that.
And so what did we get into? Because we moved in together. We rented a townhouse. Probably
it was probably September.
probably that fall. Yeah.
Fall.
But it turns out
We decided to. It was a bad decision, but I say it was a bad decision. I say it was a bad decision that we rented a townhouse instead of buying a house.
Yeah,
But I get it. So we rented the townhouse and we wasted some money.
yeah, and it turns out during all of this dating and stuff, we all knew the same people. I mean, Rochester's a small town. It's a small city, and we ended up knowing all the same people. It was really weird.
Well, and it's funny because we were at some of the same events over the years.
Right.
But you would show up early and I
Right.
would show up late, or vice versa.
And wasn't it when I joined Rite Aid, I was training at the Monroe Avenue Goodman
yeah,
store.
you used to wait on me.
And you lived across the street.
I
You
lived
were in the
across the
apartment
street.
building across the street from the store, and he was always in.
Mm-hmm.
This is, again, before we met. And, of course, you find this out later. It's like, oh, yeah, I worked there. I was training there before I...
Yeah, you were the geek in the suit.
So, yeah. So that was it. And then we bought our first house in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And we were there for a couple of years. Then I got sick in 2010. And that took a couple of years of recovery. But it was
in 2013 when we started cruising again. And our first cruise back was on the Carnival Victory.
Right. Yeah,
Which
Victory.
is what? It's
The
no
Radiant.
longer. It's the Radiant.
No, Radiant now with a $200 million renovation. Why didn't we have that?
Renovation.
When we didn't have that when we were on the
It's
Victory.
been actually renovated
How
a
many
couple
times?
of times
Yeah, a lot of money.
since we were on it, because we were on I think we were on the last sailing before it was doing the renovation.
Right. And then in 2011, New York State passed marriage equality in June of 2011. And so...
And it turned out that 11/11 was November 11th was on a Friday.
Right.
So what a perfect day to have a wedding.
Right.
And it made a cool anniversary date.
Right.
11/11/11.
To remember something I need, 11/11/11. So, yeah. So we were married 11/11/11. And so it's been 10 years. We moved into this house in 2015.
Almost to what? How many years was that? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 7 years, almost to the day, because we closed on that house.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
It was
We
like,
closed on this house.
yeah,
It's like, woo.
it was almost the same day we closed.
Right. And then in 2017, we started this YouTube channel. Oh!
And the rest is history.
The rest is history, and there you go. So, yeah, today is our 10-year wedding anniversary, but we've been together for 15. Good Lord. I was with my first wife for 15 years. 15 and 15. The next year tells the tale.
Maybe it does for you. Better behave.
So there you go. So that's it for our
There you go,
our
Janine.
Q&A. Yeah, thank you, my sister Janine.
You
Thank
should know this already.
Q&A wedding anniversary edition.
We'd like to thank you for joining us today.
Right.
We want to remind you that we are not just on YouTube. We are also on Facebook,
Right.
Instagram,
Twitter.
and
Snapchat.
and click that subscribe button.
It's free.
And it's a requirement. But until next time, we want to remind you to always
Travel safe.
and cruise often.